welcome to First and Cedar Knitting blog. My name is Megan, and today we're going to talk about knitting and some crochet. And at the very end, I'm going to talk a little bit about our family's plans coming up to take a little vacation for spring break. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. Like I said, my name is Megan, and I currently live in Japan. We live in the outskirts of Tokyo, and it has been almost spring. Like you can feel spring is here. It's not as cold, the sun is shining, but it has been very windy, and it's still a bit on the cold side. So between the wind and it just being like low 50s, when that wind comes through, it cuts through your clothes and it feels a lot colder than it is. The house stays very cool inside. So yeah, it's still cold, but it's also then still sweater weather. So I don't have to wear my big coat anymore, but I still at the house, it's cool, so I can wear my sweaters, which I would do anyway. I love wearing my sweaters. So still full on sweater weather around here. So yeah, we've got a lot to talk about today. I'm really excited. I'm very grateful that you're here to hear me talk about my knitting. I get very excited to talk about my knitting. I was watching another podcast the other day, Knits by Mandy, and she was talking about how she finished her sweater and was wearing it in like her day-to-day life and her work calls and her video calls, and like she said, like no one had commented on like how nice her sweater is, and she was just kind of waiting for that moment to happen. And I feel that a lot. Like I wear my sweaters when I finish them, and no one ever asks if I made them. And even like the people that see me make the sweaters and then later see me wear the sweaters, like they don't ever make the connection, and I'm too shy to be like, hi, look, I made the sweater. Except for here, I feel like if you're here, you care about knitting, and you might be yourself a knitter, and so you maybe understand a little bit. So here I'm excited to talk about my knitting. In person, I'm a little bit more shy. I usually wait for other people to kind of bring it up, and then I get excited and I talk about it, and I probably talk about it a little too much. So, all right, so let's get into it, and we'll be starting with what I'm wearing. Today I am wearing one of my oldest sweaters that I have here with me in Japan. It is the Zweig Sweater by Caitlin Hunter. The pattern is by Caitlin Hunter. Boyland knit. I got a string here. Boyland Knitworks, and this is a slightly modified version. It's fingering weight, and it has this beautiful lace motif across the chest, upper yoke area. It also in the pattern has color work above and below it, and I do believe that it also has little cables that you do to add texture to the sleeves and the body. So I didn't do the color work, I did it all in one color, and I'll stand up a little so you can see it. It is, I think this is just Hobby Lobby. They had that hand-dyed yarn, and I didn't alternate skein so you can see the color shift in the sweater, which I don't really care about. I wear it anyway. And I tend to wear it with a white tee underneath. You can kind of see it poking out here so that you can actually see the lace work underneath it. And this was one of the first sweaters I made that I was so incredibly proud of. It fit like I wanted to. The lace looked beautiful. I had made one before that had been too big because I didn't gauge swatch, or maybe I did, and it ended up growing. But so this is one of the first ones that actually like fit like I wanted it to. It has short rows at the back, and I love it. I love this color. I love purple. Purple is one of purple and blue and green are some of my colors. So that's what I'm wearing. My Zweig sweater with no color work and no cables, just a little bit simpler, just the lace portion here. And then next we are going to talk about finished objects. finished objects. I am very excited. I have two finished objects for you. The first one is a project that I unearthed when I pulled out all of my springtime knits. I took out all of my completed objects that are springtime and summertime tops. That's all I have right now is tops. And I pulled out all of my WIPS that are like fingering weight tees, pulled them all out of hibernation. I washed the finished objects that they're ready to wear this spring and pulled out my projects, and in with them was this pair of socks, and now they are complete. I have two socks, and they are neon yellow, and I'm super excited about them. I wore them the other day. I have a little video on Instagram, wore them to the park and played with the kids. We were playing some baseball, and this is just a 2x2 rib along the cuff, a nice short cuff, the top of the foot, and all the way around the foot. And I did it with a heel flap. My heel flaps aren't the fanciest. I haven't blocked these either, but I did wear them. And a gusset, and then a toe, which I'm not the best at making toes either. I don't think I do my Kitchener stitch right because I don't think it's supposed to actually end up with much of a little bridge there. But yeah, so when I unearthed it, I had finished one, and now I finished the second one. I don't know which one's which. I don't know which one I did before. But now I have two, and I can wear them. And I'm super excited. They look super cute with just my jeans and my little white shoes. So that's that completed. And I did cast on a replacement sock for this, which I'll talk about when I get to my WIPS, but it has not seen much progress. I am not really a sock knitter. I am more of a garment and blanket knitter. So I don't mind the little tiny projects. I don't do as well with them. I tend to lose motivation on them. So we'll talk about the sock that I cast on to replace this one. But yeah, these are done. I'm gonna block them, and I have some sock blockers that I'll put them on, and then maybe I'll take some pictures, and you'll see more pictures of that coming up. I had a little bit of yarn left over, and this is the yarn that I used. I purchased it here at my local Japanese. It's a Japanese brand made in Japan, and then it has the information. So it's 50-gram ball, and I had left over because they're the shorties. I didn't use very much. And it looks like it says 80%, 20%. Oh, there it is in English. 80% Spanish merino, superwash, and then 20% nylon. And then I knit them. I have no idea. I think I used a 2.25 needle, and then I just followed the stitch count from another sock that also had the heel flap and gusset with that stitch count, and I just adjusted the, did my own thing with the rib. So those are my first finished object. And then my second finished object, which I'm super, super excited about, because this is my own pattern. This is something that I kind of envisioned in my head, and I want to talk a little bit about that. I have my stash over there, and I have some skeins that are out, and I tend to buy sweater quantities of yarn, and I tend to have enough, but I have a couple, or what I thought was enough. Before I had my second child, I could make a sweater like this one with about three skeins of fingering weight yarn. And so when I buy sweater quantities, I tend to buy 3 skeins worth. I have found recently that fingering weight is not my favorite weight to wear during the winter. I actually prefer something a little bit heavier, and I really gravitated towards DK weight sweaters this winter. They seem to be a really good weight for just the coolness of the house and outside. So DK weights kind of become my thing. And so I have sets of 3 skeins of fingering weight that I could hold double but I wouldn't have enough yardage to be able to complete a sweater. So I kind of have a couple of sets of 3 skeins in different colors that I haven't touched because I don't know what sweater to make. And so I was thinking about it, and I was like, really, what I need, because it's either hand dyed or I've had it for a long time, so the dye lot's not going to match. Um, so instead of buying one more skein to be able to complete that project in that same color, I needed a project that would use a different color, but enough of it to be able to then use the skeins that I have to complete the sweater. So how do I bring that in? A lot of color work sweaters where you're doing that, it still uses a lot of your main color. So if I have 3 skeins of fingering weight that I'm holding double, I would need about 1 skein's worth of another color in the sweater, but then not using all of it of the main color to do it. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to do color work, I need it to be a small, more just transitional section of the sweater to transition from one color to the other. So I'm not using all of my main color doing a bunch of detail. And so I was like, well, if I start with, excuse me, if I start with a color and then I transition and do most of the sleeves and most of the body in that color I have, it should work. I don't know if I'm making sense. But so what I came up with, I sketched it out in my notebook, and it was just a very simple scallopy edge. And so this is the result. And so the idea is that if I made this for myself or for anyone else, or to use my yarn, the cream color would be that previously sufficient sweater quantity of yarn. And then I'm adding the gold in a secondary color that matches the first. And then the only color work is this five or six rows right here, rounds, 5 or 6 rounds because it's in the round, that would then be 2 colors. And so then I'm able to use a different color up here to then have enough to then complete this one. So this was my test, and this is a DK weight sweater, and I used the Elizabeth Zimmerman percentage system to determine my increases, and I did do short rows at the back. So on the front, you can see the first increase is right below the, sorry, shook you a little bit, right below the ribbing. On the back, it is considerably down a bit because I did short rows. This is the back of it. And I made this in a size for my daughter, and it fits her oversized. She's got probably about 4 to 6 inches of extra fabric. The sleeves are nice and loose on her. The last sweater I had made for her was a bit snug because it was a rib pattern. And she wears it. She really likes it. She likes that it kind of hugs her a little bit, hugs her back. But she wanted, I just figured something a little bit bigger. I feel like it'll last her longer into next fall because she's growing. And so a little bit oversized was nice. So this is the pattern that I came up. I haven't blocked it yet, but I'm thinking of calling this the Dandylion one, because with these colors, it kind of, and how many petals, because it kind of looks like petals, the little wavy part. So yeah, so this is this one. I am going to block it a little bit later today. I'm hoping to get some finished object pictures taken when we go on our trip this next week. It'll be for spring break, and we're going to go on a trip, and I'm hoping to get some pictures of her in it. I do have some pictures already, but they were just kind of like, I finished it. Here, try this on. Let's see how it's fitting now that it has sleeves. And so anyway, I'm super proud of this finished object. And I'm working on writing this pattern in 5 sizes because I want to be able to make a couple more of these for my nieces. I have nieces on both sides of the family, my side and my husband's side, that are a little bit younger and a little bit older than my daughter. And so I figured if I'm gonna make this in several sizes, I might as well write it down and keep track of it. So super excited. I think the next one I'm going to do pink at the top and then gray at the bottom. But yeah, so this was my idea for being able to extend my stash a little bit more, and then be able to use some of that yarn that I bought, but I didn't quite have a sweater's quantity. This is that. So you'll probably see another pattern coming from me, because I'm still kind of mentally working with that of like using a big chunk of just the contrast color and then transitioning into the main color without using a lot of the main color in the transition. So I'm super excited about this one. So yeah, I will probably, I'm not big, I don't have a lot of people, but I am going to put a test knit call out once I get all of the patterns. I'm going to do like 5 sizes to be able to cover my niece's sizes. So I'll probably have a test knit. So if this is something you really like and would be interested in knitting, you can reach out, or if not, just keep an eye out and I will let y'all know when I am ready for a test knit. So those are my completed objects of the week: a pair of socks, or one sock because it was actually it's just the foot of the sock, and a whole sweater. And so now we're going to move on to works in progress, which I'm really excited to talk about as well. Works in progress. I have three works in progress to share with you. So the first one is the pink top that I unearthed when I did my spring refresher. It's living in this little Japanese lunch sack that has a really nice little cinch at the top. It has this so I can carry it around. I toss it in with my other stuff, and then it actually is quite generous because this can, the way the cinch works at the top gives me quite a bit of space. So I found the lace repeat that I was doing on the back. The lace repeat I was doing on the back, I found the pattern for that, so I knew where to put, didn't have to like try and read my knitting and figure out where my knit two togethers and slip knits were. I could just follow the chart. And so I did a few rows with what was left of the skein, and then I switched skeins, and I feel like you can tell where that switch kind of happens. But it doesn't bother me. I've got a couple of spots where it changes color. Oh, you can really tell in the front. So this is the front. And as I was looking at it, I was trying to remember what pattern I modified to make this. And based off of how it has a neckline, and you go straight in from the neckline to the raglan, I do believe this original stitch count pattern is the Flax Light by TinCan Knits, where I just cast on the fingering weight one. I didn't do the detail that they have on the sleeve. Instead, I did the lace panel on the back, and this is going to be the back side. So yeah, and so I've made some progress on it, which I'm really excited. I think I doubled the amount of body stitches I have. This one's actually the lace repeats on the back make it really addicting because you're like, I want to get through another lace repeat, and then I'll put it down and I'll do something else, or I'll wash the dishes, or I'll do the laundry, or I'll sweep the floors, or oh my gosh, I can do it before I have to go pick up my daughter from school. So like speed knitting, because I want to get through a whole round. I want to get through and complete another lace repeat before I set it down. Here I set it down after this little second one, and so it is a little bit motivating to keep going because I'm like, I want to get through that next lace repeat. And so this one is almost done. Was hoping to have it done before we went on our trip. We leave on Sunday, so if I just fully go full steam, full nap time knitting, completely dedicated to this now that I finished, since this one's done. I should be able to finish it because the sleeves won't take long at all. I'm just going to do probably about an inch and then do the ribbing for the sleeve. Um, so this one I'm hoping will be done before our trip and I can take some finished object patterns pictures while we are traveling. And I lost one of my pins because I just was tugging on it, the yarn, and I popped it off, which I would rather the pin fall off than my yarn break. So I need to find my pin. It's probably either in my car because I knit in my car quite a bit because I have a toddler and he still naps, and nap time and school pickup time, just the way that they fall together, he ends up napping in the car quite a bit. So then I sit in the car with him while he naps and I do some knitting and he sleeps. So there's that one. Hopefully next week this one will be done. I want to have it done before we travel so I can wear it. And we're going to travel, and we're going to talk about traveling here at the end and what I'm thinking I need to do. So another work in progress that I just started, like I said, is another pair of socks. And this is how much I have done, just the basic ribbing. And it's a twisted rib on, my toddler just spilled, whatever, it's just water. On doing magic loop, and I think these are 2.25 millimeter needles. I wish they were sharper to be able to do. I have sometimes a hard time getting my needle into the stitch. And the yarn that I'm using is Cascade Heritage in, I think it's their navy color. And this is leftover from my previous sweater that I finished. I had quite a bit left. I barely touched. You're welcome. Barely touched this skein, so I should have plenty to do this. The pattern that I am planning on doing, that I cast on the number of stitches for, is the petal drop sock by Florence Miller. She's here on YouTube. She has a wonderful YouTube channel where she talks about her knitting, and she's got very detailed tutorials for making the socks, for making this sock. And so I bought the pattern, I have the pattern, and I started it. I still need to print it out, and I need to assign this project a project bag so I can take it on the go. It's just kind of been sitting here on my kitchen table, getting in the way. And so there's that. I'm wondering if I have a second pair of needles. I might look through my needle mess. I don't have an organized needle. I'm wondering if I have a second one, and then I can do a concurrent. So now that I'm almost done with the cuff, maybe I'll cast on a second cuff and then kind of go step by step doing two of them at the same time, not on the same needle, but each on their own set of needles. But like do the cuff on one and then do the cuff on the second one, and then do the leg on one for a few inches and then catch the second one up and kind of go back and forth and do that. If I don't have a second pair, then I'm just going to have to do them one at a time, and they will probably take forever because, like I said, sock knitting is not my thing. I think because there's two, I just feel like the same with sleeves. I feel like they just take forever to get done. I like wearing them. I like having the finished item. I just finished washing two pairs of my hand knit socks that I wore throughout the week, and I really like them. So my third work in progress, which I didn't think I was going to come back to this quickly, is the orange and blue yarn that I had because I was going to make a sweet shop blanket. the Sweet Shop blanket. Everyone is making it, and it looks so pretty. I did squares about half the size that she calls for in the pattern. And the idea was to just use navy and lots of different oranges and maybe lots of different blues. I have lots of blues to do it. So this is my pin to indicate the front, but you can also tell because this is the front. I just found that I do not enjoy knitting the squares and attaching them and doing the short rows to attach them. Not my thing. It felt clumsy. I don't necessarily love the look of it. Not my thing. And that's okay. Like, I've never knit a blanket. I always crochet my blankets. And so I feel like in my head I have this idea of how blankets should work up or how they should feel to make, and it has to do with having always crocheted blankets. I remember I crocheted my first full blanket that I gave as a gift. My best friend had older siblings, significantly older, to the point when we were in high school, they were getting married. And I was in high school and I made this crochet blanket and I gifted it to her sister for her wedding. And I just did. I don't think that's a very normal wedding gift, especially from a teenager. But yeah, and so then like years and years later, when I went back, when I was in college, I went back to visit my friend and her sister, who then had kids and all this stuff. And she pulled out the blanket. She's like, we still have it and we still use it and we really like it. We think of you every time we use it. And that just like warmed my heart. And this is before I was like a crafter with a capital C. I was just a teenager with limited resources. I remember my grandma helped me buy the yarn and take me to the store. And it was just, anyway, I love making blankets. So when I got irritated with making this and a little bit frustrated with just the process of it, I cast on granny squares, half and half granny squares. I have done this before and started putting them together. And I still wasn't feeling it. Like, I was like, no, this is not the right project for this yarn. The fingering weight, I think it makes the squares a little too light. I was not into it. It looks really pretty. And so attempt number 2, which I need to unravel. And then I swatched for a granny stripe blanket. Familiar. But let's upside down. I swatched for it, but I wasn't sure about all of these colors and how they were looking together. I think this one just doesn't. So then nothing happened with it. I just had all of this yarn, multiple skeins of blues and oranges. And so yesterday, I had swatched one more thing, a wave pattern. That's the top. Just a wave back and up and down. Still wasn't feeling that this was the right pattern. So I went back to this one and I actually went up a hook size and I cast on yesterday and started working on it, and I worked on it while my daughter had basketball practice yesterday, and it is long, but I started a granny stripe blanket. So it's going to be 2 stripes per color. Started with this orange and this light blue. This side already has, and it is long. It is 320 stitches long. So this is it folded in half. It's the length of my body. I'm currently working this blue on it, and then the next orange that I'm going to do is probably going to be a light peachy orange. And I've got some minis that I need to. This is a Madeline Tosh mini. I need to see if 10 grams is going to be enough to do it. And so I've also got this like orangey sock one. So this is going to be, I'm trying to like not put a lot of pressure on myself to work on this one a lot and get a lot done. This is just going to be a slow going blanket that is big enough to, I don't know a little bit. It'll be big enough to cover, bigger than a throw blanket. So it should be able to cover the bottom half of a queen size bed. So here's the start of it, and we'll see. I'm still unsure about like the combination of colors, the blues and the oranges. But once I think I bring in the navy, and I've got some more yarn. I actually purchased some yarn from Hue Loco, a couple of her minis that are absolutely gorgeous oranges and blues. Let me go get them. All right, so when I got them and I took them out of the plastic so you don't have to deal with that. But look at these by Hue Loco. This one's called Magpie. This orangish green one is Yes I Canyon. This one's called Cider. What a great, this is one of her solids, Nectarine and Current. So I will definitely be adding these into my blanket at different intervals. Let's put this blue one in the middle. But yeah, I'm super excited to add these to the blanket, and then, yeah. Then you add in this blue into it, and I've got some navy that's going to go in there as well. And so looking at all of these colors, it makes me excited. And I have it all in this big old tote. It's all in there. It kind of is my overflow tote that I keep next to me here on the side. So those are my 3 current works in progress. And next up, this is a long episode. It's getting long. I'm getting chatty. I'm just kind of like chatty. All right. Next up, we're going to talk about acquisitions and next project. And last but not least, we're going to talk about my future plans. So, like I said, we are going on a trip. And whenever I travel, I always have a hard time figuring out what project to bring with me. Like I want to have a project that is easy to work on, easy to carry around. So I don't want it to be huge. So I do have these socks that I could bring with me. But like I said, I don't really enjoy sock knitting. It's really tiny. My other work in project, the pink one, I'm hoping to be done with before we travel so I can actually wear it. And then my blanket project is just too big. It's more of it stays here at home and I work on it when I'm at home. I might take it with me to basketball practice just because I have it in a basket that's easy to carry around. I walk in with my huge tote. So I don't have a project that mentally, when I think about it, is in a good place to travel with. And when we travel, because we're in Japan, we are going to go to Osaka and Kyoto, and we're actually going to go past Osaka to a little town called Himeji, which is past Kobe. If you've heard of Kobe beef, that's where it comes from. And they have a castle that we're going to go see, and the cherry blossoms or the flowering trees should be just in full bloom. Apparently, it's spectacular. I'm really excited to go. So we're going to travel by bullet train, which means that All right, future plans. So we travel by bullet train, which means that we have to carry everything with us. It's not like we have a car where we can put all our luggage and the extra stuff in there. So we carry everything. We try and travel as light as possible. We used to carry the stroller with us because he was really little. He didn't do much walking. He gets tired of carrying him. So we used to do the stroller, but we don't really do the stroller anymore. He won't sit in it for very long. So what we're going to do this trip is we are going to do 4 backpacks, 1 backpack per person, and we do 1 carry-on suitcase instead of the stroller. So the carry-on can carry our heavier stuff, and we can keep our backpacks lighter. So I need to really carry a small project with me to work on. And I have a few days. Today is Wednesday, so I have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 days to figure out or get a project to a point where I can do it. So I have in this one, which I wouldn't have to take all of the yarn with me because I have a full sweater's quantity. I just have to take the yarn that I think I could get done working on. And this is my green yarn with another Nicole Hue Loco. Call it Nicole. The dyer is Nicole, and she has a blog series on YouTube on how to dye yarn. And so I feel like a lot of people that have dyed their own yarn and kind of ventured into that, like me, watched her series and learned from her. And so we just call it Nicole Hue Loco. So it's just Hue Loco, but it's her brand, it's her yarn, and absolutely gorgeous. Love her colors and love the knowledge that she shared for making colored yarn. So this is for this sweater. And so I'm wondering, because it has the lace, if the lace is going to be too complicated a thing to just pick up and put down, which I find that I try and get through a round of lace at a time without putting it down so that I don't lose my spot. I do put stitch markers at every repeat to help with that, so I can put it down a little bit easier, but I don't like putting it down. So now I'm not sure if this is going to be the project that I bring, because this is the next one that I have ready. Go watch the show. Anyway, so I have this one packed up in the bag. The pattern's in here. I just need to put the right needle sizes in here, and I should be good to go. So it's gone. So yeah, so I'm not sure. Hi, please don't yell. You can't watch this one. Mama's doing a video. Do you want to say hi, everybody? Okay, you're losing it. All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for sitting with me and listening to me go on and on about my knitting plans, what I've completed, and all of that stuff. If you like this kind of content, please feel free to subscribe so that you can get notified whenever I upload another video. I am currently on track to do it weekly, every day on Wednesdays. So my Wednesday day would be your Tuesday night in the States. So Tuesday late night usually is when I'll post it, but then it's ready for you Wednesday morning through the weekend to be able to watch. I think I've got the whole, I'm in Japan and it only wants to show my videos to Japan people. I've kind of got it figured out, but if you're in the States and you're listening to this and you're watching this, liking and subscribing will really, really, really help my channel get seen by more people in the States. So we got to try and convince YouTube that, yes, I'm in Japan, but it's for English speaking people that like to knit. There's lots of us out there. Anyway, well, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Probably not next week, actually, because we'll be traveling. So it'll be 2 weeks before I do another episode. So it'll be probably that first week of April, full on spring, so excited for some warmer weather. This wind needs to calm down. It needs to be like 10 degrees warmer, 10 degrees Fahrenheit warmer, and absolutely perfect. Mid 60s, low 70s would be perfect. So I also have, sorry to bring you back to this. I also have my wool cotton, and there's my swatch for a cardigan. Now, a cardigan, if my lace pattern or my texture pattern is simple enough, it's going to be raglan, so it's going to go back and forth, and it's going to grow, and I can put that up, and so that might be my project that I take with me. We'll see. You can follow me on Instagram if you want to see which project I actually end up taking with me traveling. I think I'm going to do maybe before we leave, I might do a little mini vlog showing me packing a family of 4 up into just backpacks and 1 suitcase for a full week of traveling. Probably do a little vlog about that, and then I'll be doing photos and recording along our travels, and I want to get some finished item photos once we get to where we're going. So be on the lookout for that. And anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.